here at the Riverboat Discovery.
Well, that's a pretty tight turn we went through right there. You heard the bow thrusters up here perhaps helping spin the boat around. The boat is 156 feet long and weighs 275 tons. And loaded as we are today, we draw 3.5 feet of water. Now on the way down the river, it's my intention to paint some pictures for you and explain a little bit about our lives in this part of the world. We're going to do that by sharing something about modern day pioneers, bush pilots, riverboat captains. We'll talk too a little bit about the gold rush in this part of the world, dog mushing at Susan Butcher's kennel, and of course the remarkable Alaskan Indian culture which has been here for 10,000 years. Now keep an eye on that airplane. He's going to take off next to us and he'll probably leave the ground before he reaches the gravel portion of this runway off the bow of the boat here. You'll understand how important these airplanes are when you see how maneuverable they are. They are a lifeline for rural Alaska and a link to the remote parts of this state. Here it comes. We've got the clock down the firewall. We've got the takeoff around. Stream right above Discovery 1, that little stern wheeler down there. Now he's going to do a little S-curve right here. He's going to bank a little bit, reverse to his left, right over Discovery 1. You'll see another slip right in here. Dropping altitude rather abruptly. Here he comes. Now to the right. Look downstream. You see those three boats. Downstream there's some willow trees right on shore. He'll come right over the top of those. We call this trimming the hedge. Right there. Now, coming in, and touch down right next to those little skiffs on the shore, and then coast going to stop here before he reaches Discovery 3. Beautiful short field takeoff and landing. Bill Johnson, bush pilot. Thank you, sir. Now, folks, we're going to pull in right here next to Susan Butcher's home, and you can see we've got the whole kennel laid out here very nicely. But would you join me over here on the left-hand side and help me give a nice Discovery good afternoon greeting to the champion of the Iditarod Trail sled dog race and our neighbor, Susan Butcher.
Can I take a picture real quick?
Good afternoon.
Sure.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome back once again. It's nice to see you out there. What's going on at Trail Breaker Kennel?
Well, we've got young and old out here with us. These little pups, they're 8 weeks old. And the gray dog back behind there, she's one of the oldest dogs in the kennel, one of our retirees. She's 14 years old, Jessie, and is one of my Iditarod leaders that won with me. And all the dogs that we raise here at the kennel and that race with us retire with us. And they are very important, not just as being old friends of ours that help us keep the couch warm, but they are actually ones that help us train these younger guys. Now, we're anxiously awaiting the birth of our next litter. One of my team dogs, Luclia, is due to have pups any time. And we like to be with the mothers while they're whelping to make sure that everything goes safely. But most importantly, to be able to start to bond with them. And although their eyes are shut for the first 10 days of their life, they have a very good sense of smell. And so we like to pick up each puppy individually right at birth and blow across their noses. And they start to get a sense of us right from the beginning. So we actually have a saying here at the kennel that it only takes us 2 minutes to teach them to go, but about 2 years to teach them to whoa.
Sort of like a teenager with a driver's license. I see a lot of activity out here.
Right. These guys here are, the oldest one is the black and white one. He's 12 months of age. And then some of them are as young as 7 months, so that they've all been harness broke. And so is the big one and the big blonde female are both doing excellent in lead already.
Well, now, as you watch these guys and start making those kind of estimations, can you really pick out a lead dog at an early age?
Well, we can. I mean, we're always even looking at the pups as young as 8 weeks, but we've actually learned that it just takes years of patience of bringing each puppy around to their full potential before we can actually find out which ones are going to be the great sled dogs. And I can probably best describe that to you in the story of a dog that I had born here almost 20 years ago. But when he was a puppy, he didn't look like he was going to be a very good sled dog. He had a poor hair coat and no confidence. And most munchers would have just given up on him and sold him as a pet. But I saw a special spark in him, and it was a challenge that I couldn't resist to try and make him into a champion sled dog. So I worked very hard to bring him around through special nutrition and training. But mostly I concentrated on his lack of confidence, and I gave him a strong name, Granite. And he soon learned to draw from my strength and confidence. And we've became a very powerful team, and all the extra work paid off because it eventually led me to victory in the 1986 and 87 Iditarods, both of them in record time, along with countless other races between 300 and 500 miles in length. The Granite story goes on from there because while we were training for what we had hoped would be his third consecutive victory, he became very seriously ill. And I had to rush him down to Anchorage to a veterinary hospital to try and save his life. And we set up a cot next to his kennel so that I could sleep with him there day and night, petting him and willing him to live. And finally, after 2 weeks, the veterinarians told me that I could take him home, but that he was never going to be able to run again, that he had permanent damage to his heart and liver and kidneys. So I took him back to our homestead in Eureka, and he was living in the cabin with David and me. But every time we would take the other dogs out on runs, he would cry and howl, wishing that he could go out with us. And what the veterinarians didn't understand is that Granite had grown to be a magnificent canine athlete who loved to run and race. And all the dogs love competition. And they understand when they have won, and they have as much pride as any human athlete. Granite was determined to get back on the team, and slowly but surely his test results started showing improvements that the veterinarians were astounded at. And they decided to let him start training with the little puppies on 2-mile runs. And he soon advanced to running with the yearlings on 10-mile runs. And finally, by January, he was once again running with the main team, and the veterinarians okayed him for a 200-mile race. And he towed that young team to a record-setting victory. And then 1.5 months later, he went on to do the impossible. He led me to victory in the Iditarod, and he did it by pulling me through a blinding snowstorm that stopped all of my competitors. So we finished 14 hours in front of the second-place musher who couldn't make it through the storm. And that made Granite the only lead dog to ever win 3 consecutive Iditarods.
Wow, how about that? Now there are 4 animals in all. They all have antlers. There is a fawn. He's about 12 weeks old. We've got a female right next to the fawn. She's got fairly small antlers compared to the others because she sheds her antlers after the birth of the young to start growing new ones. And then you've got the males with the larger antlers. They shed their antlers in the late fall or early winter and then grow new ones starting in the early spring.
I know.
You'll also notice perhaps these animals are shedding. They look a little bit scruffy, particularly the female there on the right-hand end of our pack. She's still getting rid of her winter hair, and she'll have that. As the boat swings around, and he starts to make way upstream, watch on the right-hand side, and you'll see the displacement of the vessel actually suck all the water up the sandbar on the right-hand side. And you'll see just how shallow the bar was that we were next to just moments ago. Now there's your ripple line, very obvious. You can find a way to deep water right across there. But we put the bow of this boat right up close to that to the jump to shore. Without touching it, he effected that turn. That's the same maneuver which takes nice and exciting, smooth over gravel on the mile an hour. Sliding around in there. Not a free ride at all. Notice those dogs working hard, but Dave also balancing the sled. On the trail, he'd be pushing on the up.
Traditional Athabascan Yukon style parka. It is made of muskrat for the main body, and the checker designs you see are made out of river otter and calfskin. The tassels you see here hanging are actually wolverine, and they're tipped with timber
Here, so
wolf.
I'm going to start out again introducing myself. I'm Dave Munson from Trailbreaker Kennel. And all the dogs you see here are also from our kennel. I brought over 8 this year, and these guys really represent a cross-section of what all of our dogs look like. And I know that surprises people sometimes when you come out here because the dogs may not be as large as you first expected. They're certainly not all the same color. So what kind of dogs are these? Well, the name of the breed is called Alaskan Huskies. You're certainly welcome to pet them if they come around. I only ask that you not feed them anything. They're called Alaskan Huskies, and Alaskan Huskies are a working sled dog. But in the north, we have several different varieties of working sled dogs. Very large ones, Malamutes, for example, are used for hauling heavy loads short distances. But the Alaska Husky is used for traveling long distances, hauling passengers, mail, going on hunting trips. So it's by far the most common dog in Alaska, and to do that, it needs the body of a marathon runner, smaller, with a lot of stamina and endurance. And you can see they're quite friendly too.
Well, thanks again to Dave Munson for a wonderful program. We do appreciate it, Dave, and thanks too to Dixie Alexander.
be too